Hello world! Today I'll be showing off the progress of my digital assistant named Shane as I make my own Alexa. We're at about 288 lines of code, which includes comments and spacings, and that's not a lot, especially if we take a look at this lines of code comparison from 2015. So as you can see, it starts in the 100,000, and the Quake 3 engine has about 400,000 lines of code. The space shuttle back then had about 400,000 lines of code. Um, Age of Empires Online had about 1.2 million lines of code. A military drone is about 3.5 million of code. And then we get into the modern times where Facebook has about 62 million lines of code and Google has about 2 billion lines of code. So while we're only at about 288 lines of code, it's important to note that as we import all of our libraries, each one of these has dozens and hundreds of, if not thousands of codes behind it too. But before we check out my progress, welcome to the 119th video on my channel where I'm building my own digital assistant named Shane, like Jarvis from the Iron Man movies and comics. As we run the program, the wake word is Shane. So after the first couple of times, I'll cut that part out so you only hear my commands. Make sure you've watched the first video by clicking the card here, as I'm only going to show new capabilities and new code. So let's check out my program now. So as you can see, I'll leave a link here so you can watch the video where I put LEDs on my program. And so depending on the LEDs, basically what I said, the LEDs would show. But right now there's no LEDs, so there will be no lighting support, and that's just letting me know here in the console. All right. Shane,
How can I help you?
open my documents.
Opening my documents.
All right, there's my documents. Shane,
How can I help you?
open my downloads folder.
Opening your downloads folder.
All right, there's my downloads folder. Shane,
How can I help you?
what is the date today?
Today is December 29th, 2020.
What time is it?
It is 10:42 a.m.
What is the weather now?
It is currently 55 degrees and scattered clouds.
What is 2 plus 2?
2 plus 2 equals 4.
What is 4 minus 2?
4 to 2 equals 2.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
How are you?
You already asked that. Ask again if you want to do that again.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Alright, so that is my progress so far. Now let's go through the code. And I've updated my GitHub repository for this, and so you can find the link to my GitHub in the description of this video. And also, I'll keep the different archives of this program, so if you wanted to watch a previous video and implement only that code, you can do that. So we're start up in the imports. So we had to import date time. So we can, from the date time, we have to import date, time delta, and date time. We use serial for the Arduino board for the LEDs, as we discussed about already. You can import pi OWM, and that's what I use to tell the weather. And I made a video that you can click here on this card to watch that video on how to use pi OWM. When you're using pi OWM, you have to have your API key, and I store all my API keys in a file called keys. You'll have to import operator. That's how we did math. Random. That's how I was able to do different response choices when I asked how are you. And then import OS, and that helps you interact with the computer's directory. So when I opened up my documents and downloads folder. Now it is different if you have a Mac, so this is a Windows only. And then the requirements will be updated on GitHub. And so these are for all the things not included in your standard Python library. And we didn't get a chance to use Y-Finance in this because it didn't do what I want yet. But eventually we're going to be doing some stock market data as well. We went through this. This is all old code right here. Now what I did do, since we don't have the Arduino board connected, was I put a try and except. So if the serial board is connected, we're going to establish a variable, and we're going to set this variable LED to true. If we get a serial exception, which means it's not plugged in, then as you saw from the top, it printed out the LEDs are not connected. There will be no lighting support. And then the LED variable will be to false. And then we move on. So we established this class called Shane, just like in the first video. And I'll scroll down to there. So we start an instance of Shane by saying S equals Shane. We start a conversation log, and I did that from my very first video. And then we're going to establish a blank string called previous response. That way we always track the previous response. Then we do a while true, which we did in the previous video, and we do a listen and a here function, which I already covered. So if the command equals the previous response, so the very first time you issue a command, the previous response is blank, so you don't have to worry about this. And then it analyzes the command. And then now the previous response was the command. So now this isn't empty anymore. Now the previous response is the very first command you issued. So if you repeat yourself, as you heard, it says, you've already asked that. Ask again if you want to do that again. And that's to prevent probably my annoying kids from using Shane once I have it in my house. And I'll have a conversation log to see if they're triple tapping Shane, and I don't want that. So if they've already asked that, then we're going to send the previous command to blank again. And if they want to do the same command again, they can. This is a little recursion by doing response and command again, which basically starts this over. Alright, so that's the root of it. So when we look at what Shane can do, we'll go into the class. So we initialize the recognizer microphone. We already did that. I made no changes to the here function. I made no changes to the speak function. But I did make some changes to the open things function. So we did the open YouTube and open Facebook in my previous video. So that uses the webbrowser.open command. But this time, if it says open my documents or open my downloads folder, it says opening my documents or opening your downloads folder. But this time you use a os.start file, and then you do the full path. Right, so this is the full path to my documents and downloads folder. Just when you copy and paste, remember you have to reverse the path, these backslashes. So when you copy and paste it, there will be forward slashes. And then if I ask it to open something it doesn't recognize, it says I don't know how to do that yet. So I made no changes to the starting conversation log or the remember function. So what this does is it starts the conversation log. So as you can tell, I've been testing this a lot. And then we started the conversation today on the 29th. Okay. So I made no changes. So the starting conversation puts the date on it. And then every time a user says something, so me, it remembers it. Then I added this function called understand time. And so if I said, what day is it today? Right? We use the date function and the date time function. And then it says today is, and then we do today, which we declared up here, dot string format time, B, which is today's date, capital B, the time, which is the string format time, and this is the day. So today is Monday, the 11th of 2020. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the month right here. And then if I say what time is it, it tells me the now, right here, which we started now, is capital I is the 12 hour, so it said 10 o'clock. So 10, the minute, capital M, and AM or PM, and you do that with a capital P. So what I have done is we've implemented how to figure out yesterday, this time last year, last week, and we haven't used that yet, but I've already programmed those in there. So you can check out the GitHub link if you wanted to see how to do that. Now I did add a get weather. And to do that, we're going to establish my home, which is Bossier City, Louisiana. And then you have to set up this OWM, which is pi OWM dot capital OWM, and then you pass it your API key. Then we're going to do a manager. So OWM, which we declared here, dot weather manager. And if I said, what is the weather now? It's going to create an observation by checking the weather at this place called home, which we declared up here. Then it's going to do an observation.weather, which is a method of this variable. And then I want the temperature in Fahrenheit and the status, which if you heard from the video said cloudy skies. Then it's going to speak, it is currently, then you'll make a string of the integer temperature, which is in this right here. And we just want the temp, and it's going to get it in Fahrenheit. So it said it was 55 degrees plus degree. So this is a string. So it said it's 55. It is currently 55 degrees, and the status right here gives us the cloudy skies. So in the future updates, I want to say what is the weather tomorrow? What is the weather in this random location? But if I say anything but now, it says I haven't programmed that. Next, you heard me say, what is 2 plus 2? And so to do that, we're going to skip this for a second and do this do math. So first, we're going to take a list. We're going to break down the what is. So let's go to that first. So if I say what is something, right? What is going to take us to this what is checker. So I have a number list here. So this is a string version of the number. So if I say anything that starts with 1, 2, 3, so any number basically, then we're going to make it a list. So we're going to take the command of what is 2 plus 2 and we're going to split it by space. Then we're going to delete the what and is from the list by deleting the 0 index and the first index. That's what delete the list 0 and 2. So now we just have what is 2 plus 2. So by deleting this, we only have 2 plus 2. So if the very first part of this new list, which is in my case 2, is in this number list, which it is, then we're going to do math. And we're going to pass it the list, which now only consists of 2 plus 2, or 4 minus 2. If I say what is the date today, then it's going to send it to the understand time, which you've already saw. If I say anything else that starts with what is, it's going to search that. So if I say what is the Dow Jones, like we did in our previous video, it's going to add it to a Google search here and find it for us. We did that in the previous video, so I didn't show it off here. So if I say what is 2 plus 2, when I send this list to do math, it just says 2 plus 2. Then we go up here to do math. So what we're going to do is set up an operator by getting the get operator function, and we're going to pass it the second part of our list, or index 1. So in 2 plus 2, the second item is the plus. In 4 minus 2, the second item, or the first index, is the minus symbol. So it's going to come up here to the get operator, and this is what you use the operator function for. So if I say 2 plus 2, the plus comes up here, and it says plus, and it uses the operator library to make sure that we do an add. Now these are strings, right? But it's telling the PyCharm, or it's telling the IDE to add. When I said minus, it checks here, and it says, hey, we're going to do an operator.sub. That's what's in here now. This OP is operator.add, not the plus symbol. So this says the OP now is now the plus sign or the minus sign or the time sign. And what you're going to do is that 2 plus 2, the 2 and the second 2, or the 4 minus 2, they're strings, so we need to make those integers. And then we do the result using the operator. So basically, operator.add these two integers. Then we're going to make those back into strings and say, speak the 2 plus the operator, so plus 2, which is a string, equals the result, which is here. It's pretty complicated. Make sure you check out my GitHub to check it out. What we haven't done is what happens if we have more than 2 numbers. So I still need to program that. So what if I say, what is 4 plus 4 plus 4? Right now, it's not going to know what to do with that. So that's how we did math. So we already went over the search words. And now we get into the analyzing command. So this is where a bulk of the analyzing will happen. So if it starts with open, if I say anything that starts with open, it goes to that open function that we covered in the first video. So I'm going to delete this eventually, but this is how I used it to blink red in my LED video. I programmed a short introduce yourself, and we did that in the previous video. So if I say what time is it, right, that's different than what is, it goes to the understand time. And we already went over that. If the command equals how are you, then I establish this list, or this dictionary I think it is, of current feelings. I'm okay, I'm doing well, thank you, which you heard both of these, and I am doing okay. Then we're going to use the random library. So then we're going to create a greeting, and we're taking a random dot choice of these current feelings. So what I would like to do is eventually create a mood, and that mood will determine which feelings dictionary we go to do a random choice. So for example, I would like to do if the stock market is down for the day, our mood is poor. And if our mood is poor, if somebody asks Shane, how are you? It'll say, oh, I wish the market was up, or something like that. But that's in the future. So for right now, we just took a random choice of these feelings right here. I would also like the weather to affect the mood. Just different things that reflect me. The weather, we went through that right now. If I say, what is the weather? What is the weather? How is the weather? Something that contains weather, I want to be in the get weather function. We already went through the what is checker. And then at the very end, so as this program develops, if none of these are true, right, then it's going to go into the search words like we did in the first one, and then it's going to do a Google search. So if there's anything else, so if I didn't ask a question, if I said, Alexa, you suck, or I'm sorry, Shane, you suck, it's for now it's just going to say, I don't know how to do that yet. And so this is where the LED comes out. So if LED is true, and in Python you don't have to write that out, you could just say if LED, and that's the same way of typing if LED is true. So you don't have to do that. You could just say if LED. Then we're going to do the LED support, and I covered that in another video. Then every time I get an error, I add that to the except list. The listen has the same program, but this time if the LED is true, then we're going to, that's how I changed it to the blue color for LEDs, but in this case we had no lighting support. And those are all the changes I've made. So it's a pretty long video. The goal is for you to follow me on GitHub. I hope you enjoyed this update. And as I make significant progress, I'll publish another video. So I'm hoping to do a 500 lines of code video and then maybe 1,000 lines of code video. So I hope you enjoyed these videos. If you're watching this from Reddit, please provide recommendations or advice or a better way to code since I'm a self-taught programmer. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and leave a comment if you have any recommendations to change. Thanks for watching. Goodbye, world.